ready to put her to bed, finish up this 2017 stuff. I just got a new phone, so we'll see how that goes. It's a newer and fancier phone than my previous, although this quality does not look as good to me. What are you going to do? This ain't Banger Studios. We'll see. We'll work on it. We're listening to Nefarious right now. Death Beckons. Came out this year on Head Split. That's great cover art. Yeah, this is definitely not as nice as my other phone, which kind of sucks. Anyway, awesome thrashy death kind of stuff from, I want to say Michigan or Chicago. Well, it was recorded in the Old Cellar. I don't know, from the Midwest somewhere. Excellent stuff. So, I want to talk about the LPs that I bought that came out in 2017. I already talked about cassettes and tapes. Most of these are long players. There's a few, I think one EP. So diving right in, Kruthu's Angle of Eternity. Self-released record. Got word of it from Marty's channel. Northern Michigan band. Playing Doom, playing traditional Doom. Very warmly recorded. All very analog and heavy. Kind of soulful, I wouldn't say bluesy, but kind of baritone, soulful kind of vocals. Not doing like a power epic kind of thing. Excellent record. Strong Irish influence on it, kind of like Thin Lizzy and Slough Egg. Kind of Irish folk riff structures. Real neat. Grave Danger by Foreseen. I love this record. Unlike Power Trip, I think Foreseen has kind of upped their game and gotten faster and more aggressive on this. I like that new Power Trip okay, but they definitely slowed it down for moshing purposes, I feel like. I feel like Foreseen have gotten more ferocious, you know, being in this kind of similar camp of hardcore dudes and metal dudes together playing a sort of modern, aggressive crossover thrash. I feel like Foreseen has a really strong Teutonic kind of bent to it. Maybe that's just me. I love those vocals, though. Vocalist really kills it. Great record. Came out on 20 bucks spin. On a nice translucent blue. And if I had to pick a favorite of the year, it would be Worm, Evocation of the Black Marsh. Great LP. Great combination of stuff going on. Raw recording. Great heavy riffs that could belong to Autopsy or a similar, or Goat Lord, or a similar late 80s, just drugged out, fucked up kind of band, but, you know, black metalish kind of vocals, even an early Dark Throne influence, kind of. There's a lot of stuff going on they throw together really well. Just entrancing, great heavy stuff. I did a review of it. If you want to see the whole review, just scroll through my videos. And we got Perverted Ceremony, Sabbath of Beheziel. Say that right? Sure. Came out of Nuclear War Now this year. There's the center labels. Great record. You know, it's not the same deal as Worm, but it's very similar in some ways as far as the recording quality goes, and just that kind of entrancing, riffy sort of thing that they are trying to bring forth. A lot of early Samael influence, early Greek black metal influence. This was a hyped record and a big deal for a very good reason. Same guys as Moenen of Zezboth. I like Moenen of Zezboth a little bit more. We got Sons of Chrome, The Black Tower. Came out on Nordvis and Binderun. Yes. My copy's just on black. Nothing exciting there with the center labels, but I think the copies did come out a nice blue, if I'm not mistaken. Not sure if Binderun still has copies or not. I know they do on CD, but this is a great LP. It's like a good like European power metal kind of bent, added with a bunch of Viking influences and some black metal. The power metal stuff kind of puts me off a little bit. You know, I've been getting a little bit more into stuff leaning in that direction, but I certainly haven't dipped my toes into any like Hammerfall or anything like that. But what this band does with their range of influences is balance everything out really well. There's a good screechy black metal kind of backdrop on certain songs. This epic, like, you know, Viking kind of chanting, singing, like the Bathory era stuff, as well as sort of the power metal influence. Really makes an interesting listen. It's really good. I gotta pick up their first album, Riddle of Steel, I think it's called. I got the Subversive Right LP, compilation of a couple of demos. I still don't know where this band is from. I couldn't find any information on that. Oh, it says right here, all the NYC bands. They're from New York. This was released by a Gainesville, Florida label. I used to live there for a while. Was not a fan. Bloody Master Records. Very stripped down packaging. Just this kind of fold over, screen printed kind of deal. I love that artwork. The Riot Cop of the Scythe. It's great. Punk records like that look like this, I feel like I don't see them as much anymore. It was kind of something you saw more of in the 90s. This kind of aesthetic or whatever. Anyway, the music on here is great. It's like raw, stripped down, early Sacrilege, Discharge kind of stuff. Sounds a lot like the Sacrilege demos, which is great. If you're familiar with Sacrilege, female fronted, began as sort of a hardcore punk band, and then you kind of turn into I guess a crossover band with some kind of doom influences later. I don't know. You should know Sacrilege UK. They're great. And this sounds like their earlier stuff that's the most punk stuff. Then Dialysis. Did a review of these guys. Upstate New York. Wild hardcore punk with some discordant elements to it. Like a lot of 90s hardcore dead guy kind of thing going on. Some power violence, blasting, death metal tremolo picking, weird samples, saxophone. Just a really engaging, diverse listen. Awesome band. This came out on Hex Records, the singer's imprint. What's up, Ryan? Great band. Great band, great album. I suggest if you like any of those styles, you should check this out. I don't think too many people outside upstate New York really have talked about these guys, but they're awesome. Definitely one of my favorites of the year. Also really like this Concealed Blade. Great hardcore record. PA dudes. Kind of, I'd say like sort of Poison Idea-ish. Early 80s. Enough musicianship. Focus on musicianship with some good solos, some good riffs, tempo changes, stuff like that. Very angry. Nice gruff vocals. This came out on Beach Impediment Records in 2017. Next up, Galley Beggar. This was a bit of a surprise to me. I just like read the blurb, the description of it on the 20 Buck Spin website and was like, what the hell? You know, I like folk, you know, I like stuff like Pentangle and Fairport, so I was like, oh, you know, and it's awesome. It's, you know, heavily influenced by British folk, borrows a lot from that, but it has a certain almost tribal-y element with the rhythms, with the drums. Some of it almost kind of reminds me of the very first Dead Can Dance record. That sounds up your alley. Some pretty great female vocals, just all around great musicianship. This band's been around for a minute, I guess. I've got a bunch of LPs I just learned. But yeah, it came out on Rise Above, and if that sounds like it's your jam, check it out. Even if it doesn't, expand your mind. Scope it. Full of Hell. Band I avoided for a long time because they're, you know, they've got a lot of hype around them. And it's kind of dumb to do that sometimes, you know? I really like this LP. Trumpeting Ecstasy, Flamey Nun Face, a love story. Trumpeting Ecstasy. It's a really short record. Just a little bit of noise on there, and for the most part, just great, tight death grind. Really, some hardcore influence on it, but really heavy and really good. It's really all I require. So, you know, hyped for a reason, I think. Same kind of deal with Artificial Brain. I was like, I don't do techie stuff, guys. I don't do it. I don't like Gorga. It's past the erosion of sanity there. I don't like anything other than maybe Atheist and Hellwitch. I can't. But this is good. I think my first initial thought as I threw this on was like, this sounds like Discordant Saxes if they were actually fun to listen to. Yeah, it's technical death metal. Definitely going all over the place as far as song structures, riff structures, whatever the fuck. Great guttural vocals, but there's songwriting. You know, everything sticks to you. The songs flow together. You know, it's a good combination of approaches. These kind of look like the medical droids from Star Wars, and they're having a bad day. But love the cover art too, I will say. You can tell from the brush strokes it's actually painted and stuff. Nice. Coming up on one of the best death metal releases of the year. This Witch Vomit, Poison Blood. I really like this. I've really liked this band since I heard their first LP, Screams from the Tomb Below, which came out 2 years ago, I think. I had so much trouble putting this back in. I'm just gently going to show you the kind of ugly splattered vinyl there. This is, it's really, really, really good. It's only 4 songs. I wish it was more. You know, like a lot of bands, it seems very heavily like Stockholm, Scandinavia, death metal kind of inspired. But what they do with that initial jumping off point and twist it into another form is something I think really special. I'm not sure if that was a cohesive sentence, but we're just going to roll with it. Yeah, great stuff. Came out on 20 bucks spin. All right, so let's talk reissues now. Handful. Most of these are on the Crypt. What a shock. This isn't, though. This is a Shah. It's a great Russian thrash metal band from '89. Re-released on Head Split. It came out on a silver tape. Looks good. Great stuff. Not too different from, I'd say, like Bay Area kind of thrash. It doesn't sound like German thrash or anything like that. It sounds very American. But has a certain rawness and urgency to it that I think kind of blows a lot of those Bay Area bands out of the water. I know that sounds like I'm trying to be Mr. Controversial Statement or whatever, but maybe it's because I'm not too into a lot of those bands past their first album, you know? Testament, first album, past that. Second album's pretty good, you know? Exodus, past the first album. You know what I mean. Anyway. Eternal Dirge. This is a Crypt reissue. Morbus Ascendant and Demos. I just talked about this. Great all over the place, smart, mind-expanding, thrashy death metal from Germany. Formicide Demos Collection, also on the Crypt. Great classic Boston thrash there. You can actually say, similar to Shah, I feel like this has kind of a, you know, a West Coast thrash kind of feel, even though they're from the East Coast. And the rawness and just pure anger and violence in the music kind of really pulls it through. Then, something I was totally hyped for, even though I do have an original of this on CD, the Deteriorate Rotting in Hell. What I really wanted to hear were the demos, and I was not let down. It's got the Gather the Nebbish demo, which I think the songs from that made it onto their second album when they went more death metal, or black metal. And they have like pretty much a demo version of the entire first album as well on here, which is cool. It's neat. I'm enough of a super fan where I like to hear, you know, the exact same songs re-recorded. Nice reimagining of the original airbrush cover there. Looks like Mark Riddick. Not gonna look it up right now. Great stuff. Not gonna pull these out because I already did a full review. But the Dr. Shrinker reissues are great. Classic Wisconsin death metal. Enough of a thrashy edge to it, you know, they're still kind of not quite out of the gate, like I've said before. I love that era of death metal where there's still enough thrash in it. Kind of like what we're listening to right now. I think Nefarious captures that vibe really well. But yeah, pathological, horror-inspired stuff, just filthy. Almost had a record put out by Necrosis. The guys from Carcass loved Dr. Shrinker. It didn't happen. This is everything they recorded. Wedding the Grotesque demo, the Eponym demo. I've had just a CD compiling most of this stuff, not all of it. That came out on Necroharmonic years ago for ages, and that's fine. Sounds okay, but this sounds awesome on vinyl. It's just so good. So happy it happened. So now that I've talked about a few reissues, So those were my reissues and my LPs of the year. And I just want to go over some scores, talk about some stuff. These are not 2017 releases, but rather just some records that I was happy to pick up this year. Yep, that's what I'm going to do. This is a Theater of Hate live LP. Got this at my local record store. Salem Record Exchange. Heard of this band for years, never checked them out. Great gothic rock with like some saxophone on it. I was playing it in the background of my book video. The Death Records Comp Part 2, Complete Death 2. Mostly demo level, hardcore crossover metal bands. Four Walls Falling's on it, Hatred, Impulse Manslaughter, Anchor Watt's great, School of Violence. Great stuff, The Dehumanizers. Been wanting this, I've had the first one for ages, so picked this up in, I think I got this in Seattle. Yeah, at Daybreak. Also got this at Daybreak. This Death Wish band. Great British thrash. Tight, concise, real heavy. Awesome stuff. Came out on GWR and Restless. Killer drummer on that Death Wish record. Saxon Wheels of Steel. Also picked this up here in Salem. Excellent rock and new wave of British heavy metal stuff. It's black vinyl. This is a Discog score. Didn't get this in a while. Impaler, Carnal Deity. Came out on Def Records, which I think was a subsidiary of Peaceville. Not sure, but classic grimy British death metal from the early 90s. Fucking great band there. Blessed Death. I talked about this in one of my very early updates. Just awesome Jersey thrash with some good kind of high screeching vocals, sort of like Bobby Blitz in points. Came out on Road Racer. Got them Road Racer labels. This was a nice score. You know, I paid kind of a lot for it, but I was happy to get it. This is Dust Heart Attack. Hard rock band from the 70s that had Marky Ramone on drums. This was sealed. And, you know, you worry about the whole sealed thing making the record warp if it's been sealed since, like, the 70s. And thankfully the record was in perfect shape and it sounds amazing. I'm trying to remember what this Buddha Records. I guess the Buddha pressings are a big deal or whatever for whoever was on that label. But, yeah, it's really, really good. Good hard rock and stuff, but it's got a lot of, like, softer elements to it. And it's awesome. Kind of similar to Jerusalem, if you've ever heard them. Got this in Seattle. This Backwater, Final Strike. Motorhead worshipping German speed metal stuff. Great. Second Raven record there, Wiped Out. Stoked to get this. High energy, new wave of British heavy metal stuff. Neat records. Gotta love that thumbs up. Exciter, Long Live the Loud. Came out on Bonsai. Always nice to have a Bonsai pressing. Exciter got a little bit more epic on this, a little bit more power metal. Great shit. And finally, Battlefield. Unsung German thrash. Female fronted, incredible music. I think I've heard of them. I was a little bit standoffish with that cover art, but I don't know. I think I just did a quick search or something on my phone, like a poser, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll check it out. And this is, I want to get into some German thrash with female vocalists, you know, beyond Holy Moses. Like this is a go-to. So that's it. Hope everybody has a good rest of their year, and I'll be back sooner than later with more bullshit. Later.